4:34 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. Ms. Morgan, the secretary, will now take the roll.
Ms. Bixler,
Here.
Morgan is here. Ms. Holmes. I see Ms. Holmes
Here.
on there. Thank you. Ms. Williams.
I'm here.
Thank you. Thank you. Pastor Poole.
Yes, ma'am, I'm here.
Thank you for joining us today, sir. And Ms. Walker. Does not look like we have Ms. Walker with us today, Mr. Ford.
I'm going to call her right now.
Okay. Ms. Bixler, if you don't mind, maybe we can just hold for a moment.
Okay.
And let's see.
While we're waiting for just a moment, I think most of you know me. I don't know if Pastor Poole does, but my name's Diane Jacoby. I'm the school governance liaison for the district, and I'm just here to help and support. Pastor Poole, I did send you a private message. If you could send me your email address or share it with me. From the district, we send out supporting materials, the training materials that you need, and other opportunities for Go team members. So I would appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Ms. Morgan and Ms. Bixler, Ms. Walker is on her way to the meeting right now. I just got
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Bixler, when Ms. Walker joins us, we will have a quorum, so we could go ahead and get started with our meeting at your discretion.
Okay. Ms. Jacoby, do we need to wait till she shows up?
By my count, you have 5 Go team members here at the moment, because you have
Okay.
Ms. Morgan, yourself, Ms. Bixler, Ms. Williams, Holmes, and Pastor Poole. That's 5. That is quorum.
All righty then. Moving forward, our first order of business is to approve the agenda. This was provided to you and copies are here. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay, may I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
A second? All in favor?
Was that Ms. Holmes?
I think so.
Asking somebody else too.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye so the secretary can record your vote.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. Okay, we will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? If there are no further corrections or no corrections, may I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Morgan makes a motion to approve the minutes.
A second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. Okay. All right, our first action item is, let's see. Well, I mean, I don't see any action items. We have discussion items.
Correct. We just have discussion for tonight. We don't have
Okay.
tonight.
So we will now move to the discussion items on our agenda. Georgia milestones and math data.
Will be given to you all in the form of a presentation. And like I said before, everyone, thank you for your grace as I do my best to navigate this. So, Right. Guys, our meeting tonight will take place in two parts, where the first part tonight is just going to be an overview of our data. Can everyone see the screen?
Yes.
And I'm also admitting Ms. Walker to our meeting, Ms. Bixler and Ms. Morgan, so that you are able to account for her in our attendance. So this will be the first portion of the meeting. We did determine the last time that we met that we would be convening a committee to work on a process for having a uniform policy for Perkerson Elementary School. However, we will not be discussing that tonight. We are not ready for that, as we are in need of some additional members to that team before we're able to have that conversation in its entirety. So what we will do tonight is talk a little bit about our strategic plan, just keeping in mind that our strategic plan is the guide for the work we're going to be doing in our school. Our strategic plan is based off of data and based off the needs assessment that we have completed, and I'll be going over some of those things with you. We've already spoken a lot about data, so hopefully tonight this will be a high-level overview and you'll be able to ask any clarifying questions. But we spoke about data in our last meeting as well. So what I want to do tonight is just to go through a couple of things that were sent in our slideshow for tonight. All right. We're gonna go over, like I said, our milestone math data, because we previously had not gone over math data. We didn't have it yet, but we do have the math data, and we're going to be able to take a look at that today. But let's take a look at our strategic plan. Our strategic plan has some SMART goals. You can see them there at the top, about increasing proficiency in literacy and in math, and increasing the percentage of students who respond favorably on the student survey by 3% each school year. The school survey is the STAR, the name of it is, Diane, help me. The name of it is the STAR Climate Survey. I can't remember the exact name of it, but basically it's that's
Yeah,
given third through
from the
fifth
state.
students through the state to ask them if they feel safe in our school, if they're getting their needs met. And we use that as a measure basically to just kind of see what the culture is like for the children. So our priorities are listed there. We went over these priorities already. We've already, had a conversation about them and agreed to these priorities to be a continuance for our school. Are there any questions about the strategic plan? All right, some additional data that we have is our math data. So you can see across the top, the district's math data in red. We have the percentage. This is for the district of elementary schools, the percentage of students who are scoring in the below range, the percentage of students who are scoring in the yellow in what we call the developing range, which is the level 2 on the Georgia Milestone. And then the lighter green is the number of students who are proficient in the district. And then the darker green is the number of students who are distinguished in the district. And you can see right underneath that how Perkerson compares to that data in math. If you look underneath the line that's grayed out that says Finch Elementary School, you can also see a breakdown of the grade levels that take the Georgia Milestone in math, which would be grades 3, grades 4, and grade 5, and how those students fared on the assessment. Of course, we can point out some notices, but I'm going to leave that there for you to just take a look at that as well, so that you can compare, again, those beginning students, those developing students, and those students who are in the proficient range, and then also those students who are in the dark green in the distinguished range by grade level. So what notices do you have as you take a look at our data compared to the district data, which is in that top row, and then our overarching data, which is that second row, and then data based on each grade level of students who took the math Georgia Milestone Assessment? What notices do you have?
May I speak?
Absolutely.
Okay, I noticed that from grades 3 to 5, the percentage of those that are meeting or exceeding is falling. Now, as we discussed in our last meeting, my question would be, as you spoke about retention and transient students, what percentage of the students who were with you in the 3rd grade took that test in the 5th grade?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good call out, Pastor Poole. But I do want to point out one thing. If you take a look at 3rd grade, you'll see that 4% of the 3rd graders were proficient. And then
Right.
if you go to 4th grade, 18% were proficient. And then if you go to 5th grade, we have 29 that were proficient or developing. So actually, we do see an increase of students from grade level to grade level that are increasing.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. I was looking at the red. What is the red again?
The red are the below students. So the red is the percentage of students who are not scoring at the proficient level. There are 3 different categories: below, which is the red, developing, which is the yellow, 4 categories, and then proficient and distinguished, which is the green and darker green.
Okay, good. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah, 5th grade looks pretty good to me.
yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, when you put it, I should have been paying attention.
It's okay.
Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed that with the 3rd and 4th grade that we didn't have any distinguished, but not to talk about what we didn't have. I would like to know what could we do to get some students over into that distinguished category, especially with so many of them at that 4th grade level that are proficient. So if they're proficient, I feel like that there's something that we can do instruction wise to get them into that distinguished.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things, if you take a look at 5th grade, we have 29% of our 5th graders that are proficient and distinguished. And then if you
Right.
look at our overarching, we are at 19% that we're at 20%, excuse me, that were distinguished and proficient. Imagine what we would have if 3rd grade would have had at least the same amount proficient as 4th grade did.
Right.
Because we're talking about a 14% difference that would have been
Yeah.
averaged in. We would have seen considerable growth. So really, we have to strengthen what's going on with our 3rd grade students. 3rd grade is the first year of testing, and we know that that's a difficult leap for our students. But at the same time, we've got to make sure that we're providing that rigorous intent instruction in 3rd grade so that our students are able to handle those 2 sessions that they're going to take on the math assessment.
I got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, although my girls are in the 2nd grade, we're probably gonna get to the 3rd grade. So
Absolutely.
when it comes down to like with the Georgia Milestone, is there any way the parents can help the kids at home as far as like
Yeah.
certain stuff that may be on the test just to kind of get them prepared?
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So if parents have the ability to connect to devices, there are lots of online resources that are completely free that parents can use in order to support their children. But I also think that, especially if you're talking about a 2nd grade student, it's really important with our 2nd graders that we start getting them ready for the duration of time that they're going to be tested. Because really what happens is that this is the first time that the students have sat down for 2 70-minute assessments and have to work that long continuously. And so we've got to build up their ability to persevere through that much time. And so I think for 2nd grade, it's really important that we provide opportunities for students to just read independently. So, okay, guys, we're going to sit down and read for 15 minutes for a while, and then we're going to move up to 20 minutes, and then we're going to move up to 25 minutes, because those tests are very long and the students need to build their muscle and be able to endure that long.
Miss Williams, I think that is a phenomenal question that you did ask as parents. How can we help? As a parent yourself, what would be something that you feel like our school could do to kind of help you become engaged, and then you are spreading that in your little pool from a parent perspective? How do you feel like we can support or involve parents a little more? What would be something meaningful to you?
Well, just kind of looking at it from the back end and being an after school parent, maybe sometimes with the parents, maybe getting with the teacher a couple of times. I'm not going to say a couple of times out the month because I know that's a lot, but at least like once or twice. Like, I'm gonna just give an example. Last week, not saying that it's going to be on the test, but it just gave me the mindset of, okay, I may need to be sitting in the classroom with the kids every now and again, because we had homework last week on onomatopoeia, I
Yeah.
want to say, and I caught the most trouble trying to figure that out, and then got to school the next morning to find out the only thing an onomatopoeia is a word that means the same thing as the word that you're using, just a different word.
So maybe anchor charts.
Anchor charge. Thank you, Miss Bixler.
Uh-huh.
So I'm still keeping up with stuff Miss Bixler gave them during first grade. I'm as well trying to keep up with homework that they're giving in second grade. Anything that I could possibly see that we can go over or consider helping in more, because sometimes I'm not probably not speaking for just myself, but I do feel like sometimes the parents themselves don't give themselves the time to, I guess, relearn what the child is learning.
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. I think when we're thinking about a big picture, because I know you're talking about those beautiful girls that you have, but I think when I'm thinking about the school and I'm thinking about how we can get parents who may not be as engaged as you are
Right.
support of their child, I think that Ms. Bixler hit the nail on the head when she said things like anchor charts, because that's
Anchor charts, right.
It's simple to just take a picture of the charts that teachers are already using and upload those to Dojo so that all parents have access to the language that we're using, the strategies that we're using, and example of those things. They will have access to those kinds of things. And I think, like, in kindergarten, we're not necessarily seeing the struggle, but when they get to third
Right.
grade and they're dealing with idea and they're dealing with all of the different math skills. I know our third graders right now have been learning division, and
Okay.
strategies that the students are learning for division. It's not the same strategies that I know that you and I learned when we were
Learn, exactly.
like,
So,
Exactly. And
so
that's
so
kind of the point I was trying to make, as far as like, even just like you said on Class Dojo, sending out like maybe little key things. They be like, hey, we're just sending this out just for upcoming testers or something like that. And that kind of gives the parents a cue to like, okay, I need to take this out and work with my child on this, to kind of, like, even if it's just a brief thing, at least it's something when they get in third grade, they can say, oh, I kind of remember this.
right, they have
so
exposure to it.
Ms. Williams and Mr. Ford, maybe something I tried to do last year is anchor charts that would help the kids do their homework or help the parents understand how we're teaching what we're teaching, or remind them what onomatopoeia is.
Right.
I would stick those in page protectors and put them in their take-home folders. So the parents could see that and the kids could use those to do their homework or to practice. But something that you said, Mr. Ford, that you told Ms. Williams, is encouraging the children, because I know what those girls do when they go home. They basically play school. They
Yep.
do their homework and they do extra. So letting her know that they need to read and build that reading stamina while
Yeah.
also paying attention to their understanding of what they're reading, that will help them the most.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
then their writing skills too.
Ms. Williams,
Sure.
I would say the most important thing that you can have your girls do is
Mhm.
to read every day.
Mhm.
Okay.
You to see, like, even when Ms. Bixler just mentioned writing, if they're reading every day, it's going to translate to their ability to write because they are accruing new language when they're reading text, they're accruing new vocabulary, they're looking at the structure of language when they're reading, and that's going to help them to be able to organize their thoughts in writing. But right now, they just need to read, because even in math, a big deal that we have in math, specifically, related to the data we're looking at right now, is the math is not just numbers on the page. There are word problems that the students have to understand, and then from their understanding of the word problems, do the computation. So we're talking about their ability to look at tables and graphs and all of those things in the math problem and be able to derive information from it and then divide, multiply, add, subtract. So if there's anything that I would want to encourage parents to do in general with their children, is to make them, and I'm using that word very intentionally. This was smiling at me because she knows I mean it. Make them read every day. They're not, and I'm saying that because they're not going to want to at first, and it's okay. Like, it's okay. You're not gonna like it, but it's good for you. It's like eating broccoli.
Her girls love to read though. She's lucky.
Good.
Thanks, Katie. We just walked around here with a book the other night, so y'all are right.
Good. But what we got to do is get them to be able to read for a sustained period of time, because those tests, Ms. Williams, are approximately 70 to 80 minutes long. And so that's a long time for an 8-year-old to sit still. And they're not used to it.
So are you going to share that specific information with the parents so they'll know what their child is going to be facing? And I know that you will, but as you're talking about how to present this to the parents, I think that's critical. You guys have already identified the low-hanging fruit that would benefit most of the students and get the scores up. But I think the parents need to understand how critical it is that the child learns to sit and focus, read and comprehend for that length of time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We just had a Title I reading night a couple weeks ago, and that was one of the purposes behind it, was to be able to explain to parents the different components of the reading program and things that they can do to support their children with their ability to learn how to read. And so we will continue to do things like that. I think that Ms. Walker and Ms. Morgan, Ms. Holmes and Ms. Bixler can help me come up with ways to keep this information in front of our parents, because I think a one-time situation isn't sufficient. Like, I think we're going to have to figure out a way to keep this information in front of our parents on a regular basis.
Well,
And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You go ahead.
Okay. So I was also thinking about another way that helped as I was growing up. Can we like kind of start back? I'm not sure what they used to call them back in the day, but I think we used to call them book stories or something. Like, we'll read a book or a chapter or something, and we'll write out in like a paragraph just kind of explaining what happened within the time frame of what you read, just to kind of give them some comprehension skills.
A summary or a book report would be over the whole thing, but a summary
report,
in
that's
their
what it's
own
called.
words. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, for sure. For sure. And we're trying to think of ways that we can do things like that with the boys and girls, and kind of take the edge off by adding these incentives and things that we can do to kind of keep them excited about it. What I'm finding is that in grades K and 1, the kids are a little bit more excited about it. And as they get older, when we get to these tested grades, I don't have a lot of 4th graders who are reading independently like they need to be for the duration of time that they need to be.
Do you know if there is, the kids are into everything's on YouTube, digital. I heard you mention earlier that there were sites that they could take practice tests. I believe I heard you say that. Or
there are practice software. So there's what's it called? Oh, it was right on the edge of my, oh my goodness. There's a couple of them that the district has purchased for them, iReady and Study Island. Thank you. There are those two that are available specifically for students.
So I'm thinking like, does the school have anything like a game that makes it into a game that when they advance, it gives them tokens or something like that that can some kind of way be redeemed?
Yeah, Study Island does that. Study Island, you can like get points, and they have a little character that that they are assigned to as they get through the program.
Mhm.
But I think again, the problem that I have is that it breaks up the learning sometimes into too short of a duration, and I'm trying to build their ability to sit for a long time. That's why the reading to me is just so important, to be able to just sit there and focus, because even my kids like to read, but some of them that like to read, but they just can't be still. So they can't really focus on what they're reading and get to the part where they're deeply comprehending and using visualization and those other strategies to really get good meaning, because they just can't be still that long. They have not been trained to be still that long.
Ms. Williams, we just need you to go out into the community and tell all of your fellow parents to be involved like you're involved.
Yes, ma'am. Please, Ms. Williams.
That's what
I'm
we need. That's
I'm
what we need you to
trying.
do.
Look, I'm trying.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and go on. So let's go to the continuous improvement plan. So every year, we revamp our continuous improvement plan, which is basically where we make goals, SMART goals around literacy, numeracy, and what's called the whole child intervention categories. And so our literacy goal matches very specifically the goal that we have in our strategic plan, as well as our numeracy goal. Our whole child goal is a little bit different just because of the data source that we're using. But basically, for whole child, we're looking at, if we don't get them here, then we can't do goals 1 and 2. So we want to increase the number of students, or we want to decrease the percentage of students who are chronically absent and increase the number of students who are in attendance to school every day. You guys know attendance is an issue that we have. So those are our SMART goals. Progress monitoring at the bottom is really about how we're going to assess how we're doing. And we're going to progress monitor how we're doing with that by looking at our MAP assessment as an indicator, a predictor of how students are going to perform on the Georgia milestone. And we have our winter MAP coming up December 2nd. So I think it's just really important that we get that information also in front of parents as quickly as possible, so that they know. So you know, December 2nd rolls around, we're gonna have just been coming back from Thanksgiving break, and the kids don't even come to school when we get back. And so then we're calling families, trying to find out how to get in touch with children so that we can get them here back in the building. And if they do come in the building, they haven't had a bedtime for a very long time, and they're sleeping. And of course, if they're tired, they're unable to do their best. So we just have to really think about that, because we want to set them up with the right conditions to be as successful as possible. So basically this slide asks us if all of the continuous improvement goals are reflected in our strategic plan. So I'm going to go back to, this is where I tell y'all got to be gracious with me, because I don't know how to do this. Okay, so here are the SMART goals. The first one is increase ELA proficiency by 3%. The second one is increase math proficiency by 3%. And this third one is to decrease the percentage of chronically absent students. So we want less students being chronically absent. Chronically absent means that they have missed more than 10 of their enrolled days in school. And believe it or not, we already have a big number of students who are already considered chronically absent.
I got a question, Mr. Ford. When it comes down to students being chronically absent, does it be due to like health reasons where they can possibly make these things up when it come down to school?
So,
A great question.
yeah, great question. If students are absent because of illness, then they would bring us something from a doctor to let us know that. And then of course we try to give them additional time. But I'll be honest with you, Ms. Williams, there is nothing that replaces a child being in the learning environment and
Correct.
receiving all of the practice and feedback and instruction that a teacher is providing when they're in the classroom. So let's say, you know, Tony has been out for a couple of days, and when I was out, a new unit in division was introduced. Well, those first couple of days where the teacher is introducing that unit, they're doing all of those prerequisite skills to get me prepared for the heavy lifting of what's going to happen with division later on. Well, if I meet that and I come in on day 3 and we're already at the heavy lifting, I'm at a deficit because I didn't get a chance to practice those prerequisite skills to get me prepared for the work that I'm going to be doing. And so if I gave you some more time, you still don't have the instruction that you would have had you been in the building.
Correct. The reason why I asked is because I'm also a kid with a chronic condition. So that's why I asked the question I asked, because I was gonna kind of suggest if it's kids whose parents are willing to take the extra mile to sit down with them and help them while they may have missed out on the first 2 days, which to me, the first 2 days are the most important because that's when you start getting the introduction and trying to figure out what child know how to do what. The reason why I asked was because if, the packet could include, once again, examples or something that as well can help the parent understand the learning technique that you want the child to learn in, then that will be a lot of help. So that's why I'm asking the question I'm asking.
That's a great question. And I think a lot of parents like yourself, Ms. Williams, if a student is out for those reasons, those parents typically reach out to their child's teacher and they request that material, and our teachers are glad to support them in that way. Unfortunately, the number of students who fall in our chronically absent category are not students who necessarily have those kinds of support. And so it just becomes very difficult for them. We are the supports that they have. And so when they're not here, they're just not here.
So how, like, I give a take, when it comes down to the after school program, like, I guess I'm trying to say, what is it that as the parents can do? Like, say you may want volunteer after school parents to come in and help with certain children, or maybe even just a specific I'm not even gonna say grade level. We can just say math. Let's just say, hey, yeah, I got Mr. Skinner here to help with the after school math kids or kids that has homework, but he's the only person with 15 children.
Right, right.
Like, is there, like, all I'm saying is in the future, is it a way we could possibly come up with that type of situation where if that's something that the parents or some parents may want to do, is that something that we would be able to volunteer for, to not just help our kids but to help other kids in the school?
Yeah, Ms. Williams, I would absolutely love that. So I think that that kind of a parent engagement would be a game changer for us. So I think that that's something that maybe you and I can sit down and have a conversation about at a different time and see
Okay.
if we can put some strategies in place to organize that so that we have that kind of support. Because if we have parents who would be willing to come in, I mean, there's some safety things that we have to think about because, of course,
Right.
coming in, we would have to do background checks and things of that nature. But I definitely think if we could figure out a way to structure that so that parents had the ability to support other children who may need it, if they're going to do that on a voluntary basis, that would be phenomenal.
Right. Okay, cool beans.
Phenomenal. So let's you and I figure out a time to get together and talk a little bit more about that.
Okay.
All right. So this was the SMART goals, and then I want to go back to it's going to be kind of tricky, guys, but here are the SMART goals. And then if we go back to our strategic plan, those three across the top where it says the percentage of students, goal 1 and the continuous improvement goal are the same. Goal 2 and the continuous improvement goal are the same. But goal 3 is different, where it says increase the percentage of students who respond. And so we could consider, I'm going to go forward now, we could consider changing it so that goal 3 is to decrease the percentage of chronically absent students by 3%. We could consider changing that third goal in our strategic plan. So are all of them, and you can see all is underlined, reflected. I would say that not all of them are. The first 2 are, but the last one isn't. And if not, which of those goals are missing and should be added to the strategic plan? And so we should have a conversation around adding a goal in our strategic plan around decreasing the percentage of students who are chronically absent. Any thoughts?
I do think
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Ms. Williams. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear.
No.
I'm with Mr. Ford every day, so we have an opportunity to hear from a parent. Let's hear from you.
What that's why I was asking, is it like due to illnesses? Because I know I don't really want to say it's hard, but because it's not hard for me, don't mean it's not hard for someone else, because I'm just trying to get to the bottom of why is it consistent absences. Can they not get to school? Is it something that can possibly be helped that we could probably try to find a goal to get to fix that?
Yeah, and I love the questioning that you have, and I think that's a big part of why we go in our strategic plan, because once we put it in our strategic plan, then we can begin to brainstorm all of those things that you're bringing up to see which of those things we may have some impact over and determine if there are strategies that we can use here at school to support, because that's the goal is to do something based on what we can control to decrease the number of students who are chronically absent.
Right.
So what was that? Go back a slide. What was it? What did you have in there initially that you're talking about replacing?
What we had initially, sorry, okay, wait, is to increase the percentage of students who respond favorably on the student survey by 3% each school year.
Okay.
And we could definitely change that one, because I think if they're in school, they may have the opportunity to feel better about what's going on in school because they're a part of the culture. It's difficult to be a part of something that you're not attending.
Right.
Okay, so are you saying replace that one with it or add it to that 4th box there?
I'm saying replace it, but
Okay.
I'm open to whatever you all think.
I think it would be a good idea to replace it, because I think the attendance is becoming a problem.
Yes, ma'am. I agree.
Right. And like Mr. Ford was saying, if they're there and they start feeling some success, then they're more likely to have a favorable, responses on the surveys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I will make a note. I guess someone can ask to make a motion to change.
Okay, I'll do that. Let me look at my script. Okay, so all right, we are taking an action, aren't we? What can I just say? does anyone want to make a motion to approve adding the goal of increasing or
Decreasing,
increasing student attendance or decreasing it? How do you want us to say?
decreasing the percentage of students who are chronically absent.
Okay,
I motion that we replace the goal of increasing student survey favorably with decreasing student absenteeism by 3%.
Absolutely.
do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor say aye.
I
All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions say abstain. Okay, sounds like that was approved.
All right, well, that would be all we're gonna do tonight. When we have our next meeting, we're gonna hopefully have the second part of this presentation was to discuss the uniform policy, but we do not have a complete committee for that at this time. And so I do not want to discuss that until we have more members to the committee that we established in our last meeting. And so we're looking for more parents to join that committee. Of course, we have Ms. Williams that will be a part of the committee, but we need some parents, I think, kind of throughout the grade levels, and then some additional representation from the community. And so as soon as we are able to find the additional members of that committee, we will do the second part of this presentation. Yes, ma'am.
Just really quickly, if you guys already established the committee, that's what the second part was. We're going to be sending out resources for those committee members moving forward. So just because you guys are ahead of the game, so that's great. And then the one other thing, Principal Ford, that's at the end of the presentation is if you could touch base with your Go team about the security grant. Because you did all this in your last meeting. If you've
Yeah.
already established the committee, you've done all this.
Yes, we did.
So we just had some teams who tabled it at their first meeting.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay, so Miss Diana, the reason, Jacoby, the reason why I did not go over this is because I'm not sure yet how that $45,000 is going to be actually spent. I don't think a final decision about that has been made. And if it has,
Okay.
I'm not aware of what the final decision was. And so I don't really have any additional information to give to our team other than the state has provided $45,000 to each school for like what they're calling a security grant. And the district is going to fund an SRO for each elementary school.
Oh, wow.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so
Ms. Bixler, before you get ready to go, I just want to remind all Go Team members that our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, November the 21st. That is a Thursday again, the 21st at 4:30.
all right.
Oh, it does not have to be discussed tonight, but just kind of want to put it out there. A few parents have been saying something, eventually having, I guess, a father-daughter dance or something of the nature. It's like I said, it's not important right now, but whenever we get a chance to talk about, I guess, extracurricular activities for the kids later on, like going into the summertime before we escape from school.
Mhm.
So just to kind of throw that out there, I just kind of wanted to bring that up since I was told about it.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, I'm gonna count that as an announcement.
Um,
All right.
if I may, I also have a couple of really quick announcements.
Okay.
Starting in just over 10 minutes, we are having our first G3 conversation, that is Go, Grow, Govern. These are optional conversations for Go team members. Tonight is with representatives from the Office of Student Experience. We will be talking a little bit about the school uniform policy and the committees. We will be talking about the Student Bill of Rights and Erica Long will be asking Go Team members what they feel should be some of the legislative priorities for the district as we move into the 2025 legislative session in January. So we hope you can join us for that. You will access the conversation through Ellis for Go Team members. And then tomorrow night, there are 2 opportunities. One is a listening session with Dr. Brian Johnson. I think there are 2 or 3 more after tomorrow night. And also tomorrow night is the Budget and Finance Advisory Committee. Both of those are at 6 o'clock. The engagement with Dr. Johnson is at the Andrew Young YMCA, and the Budget and Finance Advisory Committee is through Zoom. If you need more information, an email was sent out from our office earlier today, but if you can't find it, please always reach out to us. We are here to help and support. And finally, please mark your calendars. I know we had to reschedule our summit from September 28th because of Hurricane Helene, and we have rescheduled that for Saturday, January 11th. So please mark your calendars. It is open to all Go Team members, but we would like for each team to send at least 3 of their members to that event, please. And it goes from 8:30 to 2:30 on Saturday, the 11th. So, and I have to hop to the G3 so that I can do that. But thank you all. Miss Williams, wonderful questions, wonderful conversation tonight. It is
isn't
so
she the best?
Yes.
she is, and I want to meet her babies and
You
Principal
got twin girls
Ford.
and they're amazing.
I have an idea on how maybe to get kids to sit and read on a computer, so I'll send that to you.
Awesome.
Oh,
Alright.
yeah, we'll need that one.
Okay.
Hey, look, I'm old school enough. I remember text-based adventure games. So, thanks, y'all. Talk to you later.
And Pastor
Bye.
Paula, thank you for your contributions tonight. It is so great to have a member of the community that is able to really give us a perspective that helps us to just see things from a different lens. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I agree. Okay, we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'm
I
also,
motion we adjourn the meeting.
Don't have a second?
Second.
I said,
All in favor,
everybody
raise
wants
your
to-
hand. My dog wants some love.
my cat do too.
Good night, everyone.
Any abstentions?
Good night, folks.
Please raise your hand.
No, ma'am.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned.
You
Thank
guys have a-
y'all.
Good night,
Bye, guys.
y'all.
Good night,
See you in
everyone.
November.
Good night.